Përshëndetje, besoj që më ndëgjona mirë. S'pari disha të them disa fjallë në gjuhën shqipe. Është kënaqësi e veçantë për mua që sot jem para jush. Ke ditur që BSides është një prej konferencave botërore që ndodhen në metropol mbar botën. Kështu që kjo është vetëm një testimoni apo një që na vërteton që edhe Prishtina ka kapacitet në anën e teknologjisë e industrisë, sidomos edhe në fushën e sigurisë kibernetike. Desha ashtu edhe ti falenderoj edhe unë organizatorës, veçanërisht Daniel, my coworker, Dardan dhe Flosk, që kam bërë të mundur këtë konferencë, edhe gjithë ata që kam punuar shumë, do më thonë, gjatë qërë kohës për të organizuar këtë event. Edhe së tjetra është që është në fakt kënaqësi e veçantë për mua, sepse kjo është tjera parë që marr pjesë në një konferencë në Kosovë. Definitivisht është ndjesi ndryshe, për shkak që unë vi nga Kosova. Edhe kështu që në vazhdim prezantimin tim o fjalimin tim do ta mbaj në gjuhën angleze, që t'jem korrekt ndaj të gjithëve. Anyway, so I just felt compelled to say a couple of words in Albanian because I was born in Kosovo. So, but I just said it's an amazing opportunity. Actually, this is amazing to see BSides in Prishtina. This is the first time. As you might know, BSides it's a really large conference that is held across the world. So this is just a testimony that proves that even in Kosovo, in Pristina, we have a lot of youth and vibrant people who are also contributing to the industry of cybersecurity. Also, this is pretty special for me because not all the time I have family in the audience, so this is also another reason why I feel like really stressful. Actually, it's more stressful than when I don't, but and also this is just a great start. I'm actually hopeful for the future. Anyway, so I'm gonna just talk a little bit about myself. I could talk with hours, but I just want to say that I was born here. I was born in Gjilan. I finished the high school and elementary school in Gjilan, and so I got lucky. Of course, you know, when you get lucky, you know, it's not always like you don't kind of harvest the fruit, right away. You usually do the hard work in front. So then that's what happened to me. I got a full tuition scholarship to study at Texas Lutheran University, which, was kind of a dream come true for me. It was actually surreal to me in the very beginning because I did not know a lot about Texas, but anyway. So through the years, I finished my Bachelor of Science degree in Computer Information System and a minor in Business Administration. And I started working as a software engineer. It was interesting because it was like, whenever I started, my first work was as intern. I was also lucky to get at Rackspace. Rackspace was one of the biggest cloud computing companies. As an intern, I was the only one out of 40 to actually work on a really sensitive project. I was paired with a ex-professor, and he was, I don't know, like what kind of engineer. He was the highest one, I think, I don't know. But imagine me as an intern working with a really knowledgeable person. My self-esteem definitely suffered a lot, but I learned that's like when, I don't know, like to me, whenever I know that I don't know, that's when the moment of, I guess, like improvement is. So that's what happened. And so after that, I moved to another company. I worked as a consultant, again, as a software engineer. I think maybe if you follow my talks, I mentioned this. I actually did not want, I don't know, I did not really have a understanding, and I was not like sure that, I guess like whenever I worked on a feature, I did not like to work with security because they always bring more work. But anyway, I got like assigned to help someone during Christmas with a project in application security. And so during that time, I did not know what to expect because I did not know a lot about cybersecurity, but I started working and I mean, who doesn't want to break things? So it was, to me, was awesome. And quickly I got into actually leading projects, and I never went back to software engineering because it was that great. At least like in the very beginning it was exciting, but then why I stayed, I want to really make sure to emphasize this. So as an engineering, I mean as a engineers, we build a lot of software, which the main point is to actually make our lives better. But actually, the reason why I stayed in security is that I feel morally obligated to create a safe and secure application. For example, back in the day, I guess like not everyone was required to join the virtual world, but now it's actually impossible. Impossible for someone to actually exist without having some sort of account online. So to me, that is why, you know, since there is no other way, I guess, and it's not going to be any more a choice moving forward, I feel like we, as the professionals, we are actually morally obligated to create products that are safe. Okay, so I always like to start my presentation with what's happening. Well, it's a lot of things. I don't know, like at some point I had like 15 things, but I just wanted to, you know, like just short it out. But right now we have increased ransomware attack. We have cyber war. Actually, it's like you know, we are in the middle of that. It's you know a life example. And cyber war, like nation-sponsored cyber war. We have a lot of new, I guess, like frameworks, technologies such as artificial intelligence. We have autonomous cars. We have IoTs. So even our appliances at home, they are powered by an application or some sort. So basically, even our fridge can be hacked. I mean, I don't know, like. Then we have blockchain, where someone tried to mine, and you don't even know that. So overall, there are a lot of things going on, and so as a cybersecurity engineer, you always have to know what is happening, because you know that's your kind of. If you don't know what is happening, then you probably are missing something. So I just took a screenshot. This is one of the Microsoft live threats. Attacks that are happening in the world. It is assumed, or like it is perceived, or within average in 2022, there are one ransomware attack for every 11. So it means that, you know, while I'm talking, I don't know how many attacks are happening right now. So definitely the situation is not, I guess, like it's not going to get better, because as much more we get devices and things online or powered by applications, this thing is going to get worse because the attack surface is just increasing. Okay, so motivations. The major one is financial, but there are also political, ideology, and emotion. So political and ideology, for example, hacktivism, emotion, sad to say, but you know, slacking, or I don't know, child pornography. So those are things that actually trigger me, that you know we need to create a safe environment for even for our future. So with that, a lot of companies have actually embraced zero trust model. What zero trust says, that you have to assume that you already breached. Everything, you know, everything that regardless of where the request comes, you cannot assume that just because an application is behind a firewall that is safe. So you always trust but verify. So in perfect world, this is how the product will work. Basically, it's like the intended feature and actual functionality will match. But we don't live in a perfect world. We live in a real world. So in general, when you're building a product, that is the intended functionality. The red side is actual functionality. And your intent or the feature is right here, but we always not intentionally create also security vulnerabilities and of course product bugs. And this is the side where we actually are concerned. So today actually I'm going to mostly concentrate on talking about threat modeling. So there is a fancy definition of what threat modeling is, but in general, we humans threat model every time we make a decision. For example, I decided to do a skydiving a couple of years ago. I did threat modeling and I just assumed the risk. So we do actually do threat, but it is just another way for us in security to identify or call this process. I like this definition, or kind of like it sums up real well. Threat modeling is kind of a big picture of security. You don't look at the trees, you look at the forest. So basically, you kind of zoom out and look at your application, your architecture from a little bit higher. So why we use threat modeling? So in general, there are technical vulnerabilities and logical flaws or vulnerabilities. So for example, that is, I just want to present but this is like a logical flaw. I don't think that is actually safe. So we are humans, and humans design products, and we actually sometimes make mistakes. So that is like the logical flaw. But people ask are we going to just stop doing like static analysis or dynamic analysis, pen testing? No, that is not the point of threat modeling. These are all also required, but threat modeling is, okay, so you see like logical vulnerabilities are usually caught by threat modeling, because in order to threat model, you actually have to understand the product. You have to understand the business requirements, which most of the scanners don't know. For example, if you're building like a brand new idea that never existed, like normal scanners will not be able to actually detect anything. So that is the reason why you have to threat model. And of course, like technical vulnerabilities, most of them are caught by static and manual code analysis, sorry, pen testing and dynamic code analysis. So when to threat model? So usually, because I was a software engineer, I feel empathy, and I actually empathize with software engineers too. So you want to actually do the threat modeling right here. Because in this phase, the tech lead knows already what to do, what they want, and how they're going to implement it. So you already have enough material to actually threat model. So usually it's the, kind of like preferred phase on the SDLC is on the design phase. Because also so if you, I guess like if you don't really engage security at all, and you just push the whatever feature of the product in production, what's going to happen is that you find issues, vulnerabilities, and then you're going to go back and fix them. And what happened when you fix them? For example, like imagine if your whatever design, and you have to redesign the whole product just to actually make sure that the vulnerability is gone. So it actually cut costs. And the other thing that happens is that you want to build your product with security in mind, because as I said also that we are obligated, and there are also laws to actually build secure software. Of course, it's not wrong if you do it in the end of the, even if the product is mature, it is, you're allowed, there is no rules, but this is where you get the best benefits. So there are like two types of threat modeling. I used to be a consultant, so I would work for different projects every maybe 2 months. So I would do like waterfall threat modeling. Basically, I will already have the entire project. I will write, for example, sometimes I had thousands of services to actually threat model. The drawback is it takes forever. The other thing that you compile a 100-page probably report, but then are you effective? Because as I said, then you kind of are similar, you are doing the same thing as static analysis and dynamic analysis. So you're not really benefiting from the I guess like the point behind threat modeling. So in agile world, what happens is usually you want to partner with your engineering team and you want to move along with them, because that's where, like, I don't know, like I've worked with so many companies, so I know like how different flavors on where the security stand. But generally you want security to actually be part of the engineering team. So whenever they build something, the security engineer is there. Of course, I am aware security team is small, so I know that we are never going to have like the one-to-one per engineer, like a number of security engineers. But of course, you want to embed yourself. You can also automate some of the parts, but the important thing is you actually want to engage with them in early stages and also move along with them. So you are not also the blocker. No one wants to be blocking features. Type of modeling or methods. Another thing is, I've met a lot of people, but the problem is that some people like processes and they don't necessarily look at their organization, what they're doing or anything. They just want to embed processes because of the heck of the process. But that is not the point. You have to assess your own organization. You have to know how the things work. Imagine like if you just want to do it because you read it somewhere, that's not like the point. The point is that you have to understand your organization and embed the parts or pieces of the process within it. But never like sacrifice the entire product or the entire, I don't know, like entire organization because you think that you have to go for each step of the process. So you work with threat modeling as it works for your organization. So types there are stride, pasta, kill chain, attack trees, persona non grata. Those are all the types, but I am actually going to talk about stride. So tools that you can use, of course, Microsoft, no. There are a lot of tools. Actually, I use Visio because I like to be in control of what I'm drawing and how I'm drawing and everything. And so it doesn't even matter. You can actually use a whiteboard because why not? But the problem with whiteboard, though, is that you take pictures, but you cannot edit anymore. So threat modeling actually also it's meant to be a living or document, or I don't know, like you can record that in a document or so, but it's to be like a living thing. So whenever you're building a feature, you're just built on top of it, not necessarily like redraw everything. Do work or like perform threat modeling as it works for you. But definitely it's good to have something that you can edit so then you don't have to redo the whole thing. So there are 4 questions that we generally try to answer during this process. What are we working on? What can go wrong? What are we going to do about it? Did we do a good job? So these are the 4 questions. Definitely they look like kind of easy, but the threat modeling is actually really abstract thing because you're trying to actually think about threats that can happen to your product without even having the code. Of course, a lot of brain power, but I love that because it's just like your imagination is the limit. So what are you working on? Get familiar with application and software. It is hard for it's hard for you to threat model if you don't understand the nature of the product. This is the reason why I said that you cannot necessarily use automated tool, because if you don't know what the project or the product is doing, you cannot effectively threat model. So get familiar with the software, know exactly, not just like know what it's doing, where are the services deployed, how they work together, how they talk together. Have that knowledge, so then you don't assume anything. So in assumption is really not the best, I guess, like the best thing for insecurity. Other thing is engage with the right people. Of course, what are the right people? I actually love to talk, or work with tech leads because they have the right amount of information that I need to actually do my work. Set goals, of course. This is like, what are you trying to threat model? You cannot like just, because I don't know if you understand the scope creep. It's in PM's world. But you can actually go so much like further and like lose track of what you're doing. So setting goals, setting scope is really important. Otherwise, you know, assessment of scope. So if you're working on an agile environment, you just threat model the actual piece that is changing because you already done, assumption is, you already done the rest of it. So you don't want to redo anything. Okay, so what can go wrong? So break down the system. You know, what are like the pieces of the entire, you know, if you're working on a feature, what services are being changed, what is changing? Because just because a feature existed before, and then now you're working on something else and adding things, doesn't mean that that feature actually it's not, has not been impacted. So break down the system, make sure that you understand where the changes happen. Identify threat agents and possible attacks. So in this point, it's really important because, again, assumptions. Some people think that, you know, the only, you know, threat agents are the non-users, those who don't have account, those who, I don't know. Malicious is sometimes really abstract. It actually is among people. So your threat agents are users, non-users, internal, even software engineers. You, as I said, zero trust means that you only, you know, you trust but verify. So even for your own organization, it depends like how big it is, but you always have to, you know, make sure that you identify the right agents, threat agents, because you don't want the, you know, like, if you don't, then things gonna go silent. You are not even, you're not gonna be able to actually identify or know that you've been attacked, or, you know, like you lost maybe like a lot of information, but you never knew. And understand the existing countermeasures. So of course, as I said, you know, you don't want to reinvent the wheel also. You don't want like to be that person that always complains and, you know, but doesn't have the data to back it up. So understand the countermeasures, and you always be prepared to answer questions. For example, because as a security engineer, of course, you're gonna spend time negotiating with people. That is it. Like, you have to be able to understand and like align all the, I guess, like the business impact, and, you know, all the, you have to understand like how to actually elaborate what is happening and how, you know, bad or good is an issue. Yeah, of course, like rank valuable data and resources based on the risk and the value. So not necessarily, I guess, like some parts of your application or product are more valuable, have more like important data than some other ones. For example, like depending, I guess like the question is, what would someone want from you? Like, what is the goal in your product? What someone would want to take off. So that's like how you think about when you try to rank the valuable information. And then of course, the last thing, which is the most important thing, identify exploitable vulnerabilities. So we are gonna use STRIDE, which is spoofing, tampering, repudiation, information disclosure, and then I think, okay, and elevation of privilege. I wasn't sure what is happening. So spoofing is something you know, something you have, something you are, something somewhere you are, location, something you do. So these are like the things that identify a user. And so like with spoofing, it's, you know, pretend to be someone else. So an example would be SIM swapping. So this involves a little bit of social engineering, but basically it means that, for example, it was some cryptocurrency investor or whatever lost like billions of dollars because someone called their provider and pretended that it's them and asked to cancel the SIM card because they lost it and send a new one to other address. So what happened is that they lost because of two-factor, of course. And so that guy is poor, you know, like he lost a lot of money. So another thing, I hope this will work. I wish. oh, is it connected to the internet? Maybe not. Okay, I think I can live with it. But basically, is deep. So facial and voice cloning. This is not like anymore like a distant thing. It is already happening, and there are a lot of companies who are investing to actually identify what is real and what is fake. Especially if you're famous and you have a lot of, videos and you have a lot of material out there. Chances that you're gonna be, created like some fake videos are high. So that's the reason why sometimes I just change my voice. No, I'm kidding. But like that's the I wish this worked. It's a perfect example. But or like voice cloning, like take your voice bits, put it together and actually ask. Let's just say you're really high up. Ask someone, hey, I need all the money. Send it to me right now. That's it, like, and who, for example, especially like people are really good at following instruction and orders. So, tampering. So it's all have to do with integrity. So changing data or code. Log4j. Because it was like a nightmare of, like Christmas nightmare or Christmas gift, whatever you want to call it. Or for example, there was a Ruby gem that there was a structured that it was a backdoor that basically pretended to be part of your code, but it was not actually. So the next thing is repudiation. So not repudiation. So claiming not to do particular action. Logging things is really important for auditing or telemetry, whatever. But making sure that you log every action that is happening in your product is important. So that also making sure that you log properly with addressing the right people. Like each user needs to be identified properly. So when that action happens, like you can go back because it's now I think like more than anything. We have a lot of data, but we just need to make sure that we actually use them properly. So an example would be when you have one account of certain software or whatever, and there are multiple people using it. So when things happen, you don't know what happened or who did it. So that is like basically saying I did not know, I did not do. So of course, if you have like only one user, that means that you cannot point out who did it. Information disclosure, this is really common. So basically leaking or leakage of sensitive information. An example is Equifax. If you remember, this was a pretty big deal. A lot of social security numbers were leaked, and then I don't know like how still they, I don't want to talk anyway. But yes, they leaked all the social security numbers, and it's of course like they had like some programs to make sure that you get like some protection, but of course, once it happened, it happened. So, denial of service. So basically, making or putting down your service. Making it has to do with availability of your service. So if a service, let's just say, I don't know, like a really important action goes down, it means that the other users cannot log in, or for example, if someone stole someone's password and then just brings down the service, then the person cannot like actually log in to change it. So therefore, yeah. But you probably Miraya, I think I'm pronouncing it right. You probably remember this when half of the world was in dark. And then the last thing is elevation of privileges, which has to do with authorization. So being able to perform an authorized action. So pretending like you're an admin. Yeah, I don't know if I want to tell a story while I was a consultant, but basically like elevating privileges, meltdown and spectre, bypassing user application restrictions from accessing the protected kernel memory. So that's like elevating the privileges to access someone who they are not. Other considerations: cryptography, data protection, error handling. Those are all like important parts which are not maybe like part of Stride, but you have to consider. Myself, when I do a threat model, I don't necessarily follow the rules or anything. I don't have a process. It's just like something, it's a muscle that you build on, and so you actually work more and more in projects. And then what are we going to do about it? This is like when you have to close the loop. One thing is a difference between being a consultant and actually owning a product is that you have to be really this is the hardest part, because finding issues, maybe it's not easy, but it's not the hard part. It's actually implementing or actually making sure that those are remediated. So prioritize and identify risks, provide remediation and mitigation. So when I mentioned you have to be sympathizing with engineers, is that you cannot just say here's a bug, here's a vulnerability, fix it by, and I will come and check you, if you fix it. You have to actually provide solutions, and of course, work, negotiating what is the best, solution, because sometimes, let's just say OWASP says something, but that doesn't work necessarily because you have some other service. It's not even the same language. So you have to be able to at least provide a pseudocode or an example how an issue can be fixed. And add automated tests. So, if you know that something happened before, why not automate that, make sure that you check over time so that that thing has not been broken since then. So add automation to make sure that you validate things that you want, that are, particularly there are things that are really important, and you cannot just let it out of the chance. The STAR meta references, I think I have all of them. And this is I try to make it easy. If you want to contact me or get in touch, I'm more than happy to talk to you. I love people, I love security, and I love to contribute to this community, because that's how I actually got into security. I don't have a formal education in security, but I actually learned because I for some reason I was kind of assigned to a project, but then I loved it and I just learned by myself everything that I know. Last thing, definitely if you're a cybersecurity engineer or you think to join the cybersecurity world, we really need more people, because as much as I want to, most of the people are good, but there are some good. So we need to protect the majority. Imagine we cannot expect that have the formal or to have some knowledge. So we need more to protect malicious people. And that's it, people. Thank you very much. This is awesome. Thank you very much.